Hello, welcome. How are you doing? Oh, let's see here. Let's clear everything up so it's not quite in the way. Put it the right place. You don't even see the microphone. That's the idea. So there. Hello. Okay, we need to do our zoom in. Change to this screen. We get our mirror effect for a second. There. Cool. All right. How's everybody doing? Welcome. I am John Lemcool. This is Saturday, October 14th. I have to remember to say that at the beginning of a live stream. I haven't been saying that, so I'm saying that. Welcome. Let me do, I've got a couple buttons to click over here. We're going to go here. And that is set. Save and continue. All right, that is sent. I need to get this link. We have a lot going on today. I have so much planned. It should be a good time. Let me just finish the rest of my house. Somebody said, you got to do this before the live stream. And it's like, well, no, I can't tell people there's a live stream happening until the live stream is happening. It just doesn't work any other way. We're live on YouTube. Come hang out. So there is that. And on the live stream feed for here, I always get a couple of people that are watching. It's like, all right, so hey there, head over to YouTube if you wish to chat. Glad you are all here. There is that. All right. So how is the Guru family doing? What an interesting week. Lots of different things happening. I have a little summary of the events I will share with you from this corner of the world. Where do we start? Let's see. Okay, I need to pause that. Get as much streaming as I can. On, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, I shared the fact that I acquired, let's see, one of these. Right, where's my link that huh? Oh, here it is. This, with the drum groove going. A subwoofer for $99 that sounds really nice. For a lot of you, you have smaller rooms, smaller speakers. If you have 6.5-inch speakers or so, you're not hearing the lower octaves of your music. You put on headphones, you hear all this sub and stuff, and you play it in your room, and it's a whole different thing. And it's good to have, maybe not all the time. There's a volume, there's a low-pass filter, which is great for getting it, so it's just doing a certain part of the low end. And you can listen with headphones, and then pop those off and listen to the sound in your room and adjust the volume until this is sounding like you have in your headphones. And it's just for $99 for, it's a great opportunity if you are not aware of it. So I wanted to share that with you. It's actually for a listening station of mine downstairs where I have NS10s hooked up to my receiver. It's a newer receiver. It's got some nice abilities. I've got a CD player, a cassette player, and a record player, and I play all sorts of my music there. Oh, there was an update to Loom this week. I didn't know that. You never know what customers are going to be sending messages about. So I wanted to share that was a cool thing that happened this week that a lot of you might want to take advantage of if you're not aware of that. Yes, if you're using Bose speakers, you're in good shape. Bose is good stuff. Hey, Bernie. Hey, Jawad. Everybody. Awesome. The crew is here. There's Ivar. There's everybody. Okay. So that happened. That was cool. Also, I shared this, which was kind of interesting, and I don't have time to go over it, but on Facebook, there's a really cool link that someone shared with the top recording studios in their reviews and their take, and some beautiful rooms. If you need ideas for, I'm looking at these going, oh, that'd be a great idea for I mean, look at East West Studios. I mean, that's just an incredibly beautiful, elaborate layout. To be sitting here at your little desk in a room of that size is quite a luxury. Anyway, so that's on the Facebook page. Also on the Facebook page on Friday, Moog released, because yesterday was Friday the 13th, they released the Mad Thereminist, which was a funny, spooky video. You won't hear the music, I don't think, but, you know, theremin being alive and well at Moog. So that was fun. Also this week, on a kind of personal note, I had, when I moved into this house is a flag lot, and it had 165 feet of fence with really big ivy on it. And about a week and a half, 2 weeks after I moved in, we had a really big rainstorm, and the very front piece of the fence tipped over so far that it blocked the driveway. And so this is my driveway after we had removed that piece of fence with, look at this ivy. The fence is literally held in place by the ivy. The nails in the fence are gone. There's just nothing there to it. So we had to deal with that, and I had someone come out, and we pulled out all of the fencing, and then they installed really nice fencing. And so that expense was unexpected to have arrive out of nowhere, but it had to be done. So I have a nice fence now, and I won't have falling ivy anymore this year. It can rain, it can do whatever it wants, and now we have a nice fence. 2 years ago today was a post on Facebook that I did of a Skype meeting I did with Airwave. We were working at the time and laughing about the grooves we were going to be releasing with OMG for Break Tweaker, which came out to be just a really amazing library for Break Tweaker, and now part of it's available for Omnisphere, and we're working. It'll probably be early next year before we get to it. It's just so much work to do the kits and the grooves, and then expand on that to make the multis and stuff. So volume 2 with dance and trance is coming, but I'm given that time to really develop and foster and do all it's going to do. But this weekend, I can't tell you all the details, but we have a crazy special this weekend going on Airwave Volume 2. And so I'm going to share some of those patches just to give you guys a reminder. A lot of you have Omnisphere or Volume 1. But the number of people that own Volume 1 versus the number of people that have bought Volume 2 is it's like way up here for Volume 1 and not very many. So I wanted to make it available, get more people to know about this library, because it's such a great library. Not only is it a ton of patches, but Airwave included his own samples, including sound design from taking recordings. He's got like over 400, 500 singles he has released in the last 20 years. He went through some of those and pulled out and then used all sorts of time stretching and effects and so forth to make really cool textures that are in this library that are from his recordings. He's able to do that because they're his recordings. So it's a really cool library. Also, people are having a great time and loving this right here, Razor Chill. So we're going to look at that for a minute. And it's also got a really cool, I've got people telling me that they're really happy to know about. A lot of people don't know about it. It's kind of like before Serum, one of the places to get those kind of sounds was Razor. And it has this just really in-your-face cutting-edge sound that's really unique. Like the masses have gone to Serum. So this is a secret weapon for some people. They are really like, dude, this is better than Serum. I wouldn't say it's better than Serum. It's different than Serum. And so it's nice to have both. When we get to it. So I'll show you a little bit. We've got 3 libraries. There's a bundle sale going on through this month, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, I got an email from a customer, and I'll share that when we get to it. But we're going to do a Omnisphere programming for the last half of this, where we're going to make some chill patches. We might actually go through and like take a couple patches inside of the Omnisphere library and show you how to change them to make them maybe more chill than what they come as. Take a patch that's designed for a different genre and then refocus it. And we also might make a couple from scratch. So, and then because we have Halloween coming up, and you guys, I can't believe the number of patches we've got, but we've got like 50, 60 patches already for the Boo Community Programming Event. So we're going to take those nice chill patches and then mess them up and make them something that can be in I'm releasing a library called Boo at the end of the month, and we'll be releasing a free library with all these patches you guys are making next week that you get to write a song to. So there's a lot going on. My God, how can we do all this? It's just so much stuff going on. In Razor, it's 260 or 520. I think 500. It's some off number of separate sonic partials. Razor Chill will require. I had someone talk to me about, and I'm really sorry. I upgraded to Reactor 6. So I wanted to make sure how this library would load and access, and it's very different than inside of Reactor 5. There's no more snapshot file. You can't anymore make it where I have a patch right here that says Plugin Guru and it has the libraries like you can in Reactor 5. Instead, they have this place right here called the snapshot preset tab. And if I go like this, and then if I go here and I turn off follow instruments, this is a cool tip. Turn that off, so that way when I go here and I choose the library in user and go through it, even if I'm changing stuff, it no longer flips around and flies back to the regular Razor patches. CPU hit is kind of high. Unfortunately, the dumb thing on my part is I kind of did not think far enough ahead that I should have gone back to using Reactor 5, because then the patches would have been compatible with Reactor 5 and Reactor 6. There's like 12 patches in here that I started with Reactor 5 before I went, oh, I should upgrade to 6, because I had the Reactor 6 player. I use Reactor 6, and there is no backwards compatibility, even though the patches are backwards compatible. It's screwed up. It really frustrates me that companies do this. Maybe there's copy protection reasons or whatever, but if I would have made the patches in Reactor 5, they would work inside of Reactor 6. But because I made them in Reactor 6, they won't work in Reactor 5. So I am very sorry about that. Silliness. But they're very cool sounds. And to see all the waveforms and then be able to control them in such a Razor-like way. They call it Razor for a reason. See how, I mean, and this reverb, this is the res reverb. Let's go to just, that's not quite right. Let's go to that reverb is actually in this sound. So, and I have a trick I'm gonna not a trick, but a technique, and I'll just explain it because I don't have time. I'm gonna do a YouTube video on probably Monday showing this. But if you were to use one of these pads, there's some really lovely pads. Like Prayer is really pretty for the, and hear how it cuts off. And the CPU is just, it's fairly high, just for a pad. That's because one processor is playing this sound. If I played one chord, and then if I had another track with another reactor, with another Razor playing the same patch, playing the next chord, I wouldn't have the notes cutting off. And that actually is efficient because you have all of these CPU cores on your computer. And by sharing them out that way, this works for Omnisphere if you're using the granular effects and so forth as well to do that type of a thing. So let's do this. Let me see what our discussion is. Try to keep on topic in the discussions. I've had some people talking about, don't go too far off topic if you can help it. Because people are trying to follow along and they want to ask a question that I see, and I've had a couple of people say, kind of frustrating, I sent a question and you didn't see it, and it's because There's times where the chat's flying by fairly quickly. Let's see. Yes, so the thing that's cool with Razer is there's this echo, which is a delay ability. If you were to make this short, let's kill the reverb for a second. If I turn on the echo button, it's echoing, but it's actually the engine. There's no delay. So you can have an echo. And what's fun is because the echo is the way it is, if I wanted, I could go here to the... okay, let's bring this down. And let's have echo, right here, echo steps, control the filter cutoff. So it's a modulatable source in the engine, which is really fun. You can... and if you bring up this feedback, the feedback will make it last longer, so it'll be smaller steps down. And you add this incredible reverb effect to it, and you hear the polyphony. That's because I'm live streaming. The computer is working because it's working hard just to do the live stream, and then I'm asking it to play Razer on top, which is kind of cruel. But there's nothing that sounds like Razer. If you haven't played with Razer, I have 3 libraries. Evo Razer was the first, and the ability to do that to the sound because of the stretch. This is able to take all of these frequencies and contort them in crazy ways. Now they're all bunched together, so it's like underwater murk. And it has 2 modulation sources, so if I wanted this to be an LFO, and it's very fun to play with. You can get some just crazy sounds from it. So this is the first. This is Evo Razer. This came out in 2011. There's all sorts of synths. I had a couple of people today or this week say, "Man, these patches hit hard." And we did some wobble. This is just when wobble was starting to come around. And I say right here what the LFO is. It's doing the timing. It's very easy to automate that into your sequencer. The next library is Rotten Razer, which even got even more into like slow. The idea you'd use this, bounce it out as audio, then quickly use another one. And then bounce those into audio and mix them up, and you could make all sorts of bass lines really fast. But you hear those frequencies. Razor's 3D. So you can see the frequencies. So Razor makes sounds in a totally different way than any other synth. It's, you know, when you go to the cutoff, it's cutoff, but it's shifting the values of all these partials. It's actually not a filter. It's doing what a filter would do by raising and lowering the higher frequency values, but it's not a filter in the same way. So the boost, the width, and the slope are different parameters because this filter works in a different way. So it's truly unique. I really wish this has been out for over 5 years now, 6 years. I'd love to see a Razor 2 where they would optimize it, give it more abilities. There's so many places they could go. This interface is so cool to work with. You click in these boxes to choose what waveform types, what modulated options you want for each filter type. And there's certain filters that show up here that don't show up here. It's just ingenious. And to have it just sit here in Reactor after all these years is kind of unfortunate. But I've got 3 libraries that I am really proud of. The latest library is more the... trying to be more mainstream usable. But still having that unique magical Razor thing. It's just a very unique sounding instrument. Can't say that enough. I mean, here's your... You hear the filter? And they have this thing called safe bass, which is actually a third oscillator. So without it, you have just oscillator 1 and 2. And if you turn these off, you have safe bass, which is a bass which has a slope, which is actually the filter. And this seems to be more like a true synth waveform with a low-pass filter. Well, no, I don't know what it is. We have a level and a mount, and then your slope controls. You would just want it to be the sub. So you have this sub that you add to these 2 oscillators. Hear that? Here's without it. So it has this, because of the type of synthesis it has, and because of what you can do here, you can lose all the low end. So they smartly put in safe bass as this third oscillator. And then spectral is an overall filter control of the brightness. It's possible, very easy to get all sorts of frequencies that you don't want. So you can use this to clip down just a little bit, control the slope and where you want it to cut. To smooth it out. So, and one trick, if you have the full version of Reactor 6, which you have to play this, if you hit the edit button, if you want, you can do this. Hit the edit button. This lets you go in and actually look at the actual algorithm itself. If you know what you're doing, you can modify and mess it up. Don't do that. But if you go over here to the panel and you hit the attributes button right here, if you click on voices and go to function, there's your number of voices of polyphony. You can change it to be 24 voices of polyphony if you have an incredible computer. I don't dare try to play it or I will completely kill my system with 24 voices of polyphony. But you can do that. If you do that, one thing you can also do is you can go over here and you go File, Save Ensemble As, and you can save this. I'd actually save this to a different location, but you could save it Razor, let's see, did I set this to how many voices? 12 voices. And I would put this up onto, let's see. I'll show you where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it onto sample tank. Here is where I have my native instruments data instead of the shared folder. It would normally be your shared folder, but here if I go to Razor and if I save this, what it does is it makes an ensemble that I will be able to load in the future. So if I go over here to the microscope, to the magnifying glass, I have the regular Razor that's 6 voices, and I have a new Razor that's 12 voices. And if I load this, it will load up a 12 voice polyphonic version of Razor instead of a 6 voice. Right? Hello? There. And I would go to, yeah. So you can do that if you want, and you can save it so that it will recall as a 12 voice polyphonic instrument in the future by saving it as an ensemble. So that's about as far as I wanted to go with the Razor ticks. When a plugin kills a beat, that's it. Yeah, you know, there's all sorts of ways. There's someone saying that it's kind of scary when, yeah, I'm waiting for complete 12 too, by the way, before spending too much more than just updating Reactor 6. But someone's saying that it's kind of scary that plugins can kill PCs. There's quite a few that can do that. There's forms of synthesis that exist that require a lot of processing, and the way that Razor works, it's making the entire sound in calculations, and it's doing it for 3 oscillators plus 2 filters plus this frequency shift and well as the reverb, and you can get to where it's doing a lot to make a really unique sound. So it's an expensive voice. So yeah, it can be expensive, but the sound quality is like nothing. There's nothing else in. I just had all the plugins in Logic, and I have over 500 plugins. There's nothing that sounds like Razor. Nothing out of all 500 that I have. There's no other synth that I would go to that can do what Razor can do. So it's one of my favorites. It's a secret weapon. When I'm doing productions, I love to use it because it sticks out of the mix in a really cool way. So there you go. There is the bundle to get all 3 libraries on my website, or you can buy Razor Chill or just one of the other libraries independently. Just FYI. So let's go to Omnisphere. And before we go to programming, I want to show you Airwave Volume 2. It's on sale this weekend. It's such a great library. And so we need to one thing about this library is that Airwave Veronas went to all sorts of crazy experimental things to get certain components in the effects to give it more edge, so that listen to this. Just to show you how fun this is, if you go to multi, let's turn on stack mode, go to part 2 and Airwave Volume 2, and down the list you see all these BPM basses, BPM chords, then we get to BPM drum. And these, unlike Airwave Volume 1 where it was patches that were just using synthesis, these are actual samples. So and the mod wheel, I mean, Airwave has been doing the trance thing for like 25 years. So there's all sorts of really I mean, you have instant trance club in your studio. Listen to that. And this is using 2 of the textures from the library. The cut to pieces are all textures. So to be able to have this, it's just insane. So this library is just pure inspiration for anybody that loves electronic music. It's incredible. So be aware, it's on a crazy sale this weekend on the website. Go there and you will see the price. I can't say it publicly. But if we were to initialize this, check this out. Let's initialize the patch. Go over here to samples, go to the Airwave Volume 2 library, claps, hats, kicks, snares, and then all of these textures. So you take something like this, envelope it. Right? Then maybe go, oh, let's do this. Let's put the high pass filter. Go to the effects. Oh, cancel. Go to the mixes. Where's one of the nice ones? Bring up the reverb. You know, it's really easy to turn these into really cool, beautiful sounds. So So if you're just into programming and you want to start from scratch, this is really cool. Start with that, you know? If you go down here to the textures, beyond the drums, special effects and stuff, these are all using very nicely and loudly. So synth wave and a texture. So just incredible. So many ways you could use this, so many ways. All the evolving. I looped these. He sent them to me and I looped them, so I got to know these samples very well. Now, if you own this library and you want to use it in a dance way, let me show you a fun way to do it real quick. So hit link, turn down the volumes, and let's say, let me look real quick to see. He's got LFO2, LFO1. Okay, so we're going to right click and say LFO3, and I'm going to set this to sync. It's already set. Let's do like this and say like, and right click on this. Modulate this with LFO3. Maybe now you can go and bring the amp up a little bit. Let's see how this works. Let's go to stack mode, part 2. Let's add one of the kicks. Just a kick drum. So we'll go down to the drums. He's got hats. There's 32 kicks. So not the right kick. Cool. Let's add a bass to that. And if we want it to be a BPM bass, then you go to the BPM basses. Mix. And I should point out real quickly that there's a whole bunch of done multis that are really cool, crazy stacks, all sorts of really interesting things to play with that will load up up to 8 patches. And all doing all sorts of cool, crazy, fun stuff. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. And you know, it's amazing when you look at this, at how CPU efficient Omnisphere is to be able to play all this stuff with 7 patches while I can play just a couple of notes with Razor. So it's kind of ironic. Question, is there any way to fake loop one-shot samples in Omnisphere? Fake. Oh, you want it to like do a one shot and have, yes, you could. There is a way. Let's look at that real quick. Initialize the multi. Let's say we had a texture from Airwave, right? So let's go down here and, well, actually, let's do it this way. There's a bunch in the Spectrasonics library of phrases. So let's go to the PHRs. And there's some that are groovy. Right? If I wanted to loop this, you would turn on loop. There you go. Oh, wait. No, you wouldn't do it that way, because the audio is going to stop. This doesn't re-trigger the actual note. You'd use the arpeggiator. So it's very kludgy to do this, but you'd say blank, have 1, and hold down the shift, and you can drag if your length is at max, and I believe you have to have your length be the full length, and then you can say, you guys go away, and then just hold. Yeah. So I could have it, so when I hit play, and let's make it short so we can show you what I... So I'd shorten this to be... Now you have to adjust the tempo of your song and what key you play to get it to work. It's very fake, as you can see. But that's one way to get a a loop when you don't have a loop. Yeah, the textures inside of Airwave 2 are truly mind-blowing, crazy. He used Paul Stretch and the Michael Norris effects and all sorts of other effects that I'll do a live stream on different techniques like that if we want for textures in the future. It's really, really cool. CPU, yeah, and when you're looking at computers, it's one of those things where the most important thing is the processor speed. I mean, memory is important, hard drive space, all that stuff is important, but these plugins run in real time in your processor, and they only get one processor to work with. So the more powerful your processor is, the more it can do before it just runs out of gas. That's why the idea of giving multiple processors and then having multiple plugins doing chords is one possible way that works pretty well with Razer to get around its completely huge CPU requirements that it calls up for those sounds. Yes. So, right, I should talk to you later. All right, thank you, Benny. Okay, so that's Airwave 2, and if you don't have it, you should get it. It's just pure inspiration in a bottle. It's really inspiring. Let's look at this. Brian, a dear customer of mine, has a condition has happened where he is home for a while. He had 2 discs in his neck replaced, and so he's been watching videos and asked the question for he wants to look at making evolving textures, plucked, or even some dreamy guitar type patches from scratch, or as well as other ways of doing it. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to take these and we're going to mutate them into being boo patches for the libraries of scariness, since it's October, right? So let's take a look first at a dreamy guitar patch. And to do that, let's do this. Let's start with the factory JC120 guitar. So if we go down here to guitars, I think it's under J, not jazz guitar, Strat. So here, Strat. So now, how would you make this more dreamy? If you were doing, well, it seems like it would need to be more expressive by volume. So I would probably hit link, and I would make sure that there's no filtering right now. So we could turn on filters. Bring down the envelope intensity. Maybe the delay is not quite right. Maybe we want it to be like a quarter note. And let's keep shaping it a little bit more. It's be a little bit brighter. But just wanted to sit there. Maybe you'd want to add different effects. He's got a spring reverb for the preset here. Maybe go proverb. And he has smoke, which is an effect which makes it smoky. Make it more clean. It takes up less of the mix than this. This is bigger and warmer, but because of that, it's going to take up more mix. So if you have, let's do this. Let's go over here and hello. Oh, yeah. Let me sequence something real quick. It's too fast. Let's say like. And I'm going to change that snare right off the bat because that was not the snare I was looking to. I want a more, let's see. Maybe this. That works. And I could take the snare, and if I option click, that's cool. By the way, these drums are Super Macho drums, hyper liquid. So I'm going to take this shorter little reverb. There. Love how flexible that sucker is. So now, let's do this. Let's do a test. So let's copy this. Here's the original. It's really strong. It's not as expressive as by just changing the filter. Mainly the filter was the thing I think that made the big difference. And turning off smoke and taking the delay also to be quarter notes. So that's what I would do with a guitar type of sound. If you want to make it dreamier, this is using two of the same guitar. I believe one is on the mod wheel with the volume down for the mutes, which is nice on the patch. So you can use the mod wheel to go between the two. If you don't need that, you could bring up the volume and change this to be maybe a, let's make sure that we turn off link. So what I do now is just to the layer B, and I could go over here and say pad, unison. Oh, let's just say unison. And there should, something should show up. And then I could say just Spectrasonics. And then look at the effects. I believe layer B. Nope. There we go. That's nice. Let's have it start later in the sample. Softer. So that's one way to approach. Let's do another approach. Let's go to the EDM library. Let's play around. Well, this is just a waveform. But this might be cool if it was a pluck. So let's turn this into a pluck. So we would go to the filter. Well, let's take a look. The filter is off. Turn on the filter. Hit the little microscope so we can see the shape, get this. Maybe less thrift shop. Now you look at the relationship between this and the cutoff and the type of filter it is. Let's make sure we're on a 24 dB filter so we get nice and snappy. Yeah, thrift shop's not working for me. That's nice. So let's put it through maybe a 2-time delay, maybe a reverb. And the reverb mix you have to bring down to like 1 or 2 to get really... So these are just basic, simple things to do. A lot of patches, look at what's happening. This didn't have the filter on. Turn on the filter. Make it a 24 dB filter so that you have a nice, strong slope. And then just go to the shape. And you have to look at the relationship between the shape. If I have this go all the way down, then I would have to compensate with the filter cutoff over here. And it makes the whole thing brighter. So a trick you can do is keep this down and instead don't have the shape go all the way to the bottom. Find the resting point. Hear that? You don't on plucks automatically have the sustain point go to 0. You can do that, but if you do that, you have to compensate by how you have this set. It's a relationship between the filter cutoff, the envelope, and the shape of the envelope itself. Okay. Okay. So let me check to see if this is this helpful? You guys like this? Hey, Brian's here. Hi, Brian. Cool. Yeah, so it's very easy to take the sounds and go, how can I shape this for my music? That's what I'm trying to teach all of you, is when you're sitting with these tools and you're writing music, I want you to shape the sounds. It's, you know, people say, well, what songs have your sounds? And it's like, I don't know, because hopefully people are changing them so much you can't tell that they're my sounds. The idea is that these are starting places for you to then turn it into what it needs to be for your music. So that's what this is going. Okay. Yes. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Let's look at something else. Well, it's cool, but it's not produced for any chill type of stuff at this point. It's like a cool, you know, it's like you have a tiger at a China tea party, you know? So let's turn this into a chill bass. What would we do? Well, let's do this. Let's look at what's happening here. We have FM turned on. We have the wave shaper turned on, and we have unison turned on. So we have all sorts of things. It's a single oscillator. B is not even on. In the effects, we have EQ doing barely nothing. Another EQ that's also not doing a lot. It's set to low pass filter here. We killed just a little bit of that extra high end grunge from the stuff in the engine. And then this compressor is a really unique compressor. The precision compressor is new to version 2, and it has this sustain, which is the magic knob. Without it, your bass would sound like this. But with this, you can have the average sustain be increased. It's like, where in the heck did that come from? It's because it's doing that it's like the inflator is an effect that does a similar thing. Or if you take a leveler, some sort of a cool limiter inside of your effect list, and if I was to use a limiter and bring up the overall headroom limit, it would would push the gain to do a similar thing. So this has a sustain that's being used to make it big. Let's make it not so big. A little bit's alright. And then let's look at these effects. Let's turn them off. So FM is adding an octave. When you're working with FM, you want to think in terms of variables between 1.0, 7.75. That's where it rounds out and becomes... In between, it's like all messed up, right? But when you get to 7.5, listen. And if you hold down shift, you can actually get it to be 7.5 even, and then there's no detune. It just becomes another waveform. So, listen again. So, right, there's 0. Video games. You bring it to 0.250, watch what happens. Actually, 1.25 is the first one. So go 1.25, 0.125. And then 0.250 is the next. Hold down shift. So you can use this. A lot of times you hear these really cool sounds that have this motion as you go up the keyboard. That motion gets faster. It's because of FM. It's not scaling across the keyboard to the same ratio. So it's slow down here. That's kind of it's double speed, triple speed. So when you hear these really cool basses where they have a sound, you know. Okay. So if we go to 0.5. So its purpose in this sound was to do a detuning. Just a little bit. And then the type of shape of that detuning motion is where your waveform decision is. Like if we say noise. Can you hear that shape? So depending on the type of shape of this motion that you want is determined by what waveform you want. If you go to the digital edgy, these are kind of more intense. And again, then you have the depth, which is like it's in a down is at 0. Okay. So this was doing a motion. There's enough on FM, I think, for a week. Wave shaper. Bring this back down. Was causing this quantized noise, right? And then the unison, it's set to an octave down, and it's really tight. We can have a little bit more motion if we wanted. Let's play our track, our groove. I don't think we need the aliasing for this, but I want to pop more, so. So just by turning off, I think the wave shaper, if we go back to the original, turn off the wave shaper, that alone right there makes it a much more usable chill bass. So instead of this, or go to this and bring up the cutoff frequency, or down. Maybe have it just be a little bit of noise, and then you have the mix, which is really great. You can even have this be aliasy, then control the mix to have just a little bit. And then maybe the envelope would be a little bit better to have a little more release. And then I would probably go to the auxiliary, add a reverb. Just to give it a little bit more weight. It all depends on what you're going to be doing. By the way, I love working with my earbuds. These are 64 audio A18s. Unbelievable. I hear exactly what the mix is like. And when I pop these off and I play them on my speakers, it's actually transferred so well. I was using these little clips in earbuds before, which are like $50, $60. And I was like, these are great. They're not great. Because once I got done with these and I played on the speakers, I needed to fix things. And with these, I hear everything that's going on in the sound. And I have, there's 18 drivers. The technology they're using is unbelievable. So I love, love, love. I'm going to be doing a review on them soon. I'm talking to them about a couple of other details before I do the review. But I will say every live stream, these are incredible. Incredible, incredible. Let's see. Motion. Let's do one more with motion. So let's go here. Let's keep in Spotlight EDM. It's fun to mess up other people's patches for once. So let's go pads and strings. Mod wheels do a little bit of brightness. Not very expressive. These are kind of designed for like the Roland programming approach, where it's just like you call it up. I like more expressivity, so we would go in here, maybe lower this. There's a filter shape, and it's a good filter shape. Typically on pads, you want this type of filter shape. You don't want this type of filter shape. Because what happens is this. This is the sound increasing over time. If it's an inverted exponential, it's down here at low values for a long time. And then as it gets closer to the end point, it starts to raise up faster. But you want it to be the opposite. You want to start and raise faster and then gradually get to the top. So I'd actually make this faster. And let's do this. There's too much envelope here and we need more here. And there seems to be a polyphony thing. So let's make this like 24 voices. I think the reason for that is the unison is set really thick, which is 8 voices of unison per layer. So it's 16 voices being used for one note. So they should have in the factory saved it with 24 or higher than 8 voices of polyphony, because if you call this up, it's just... It plays okay. It's not cutting out like I thought it would. But by bringing down the cutoff and I'm bringing down the strength of that right there. Those two edits made it. So right there alone, just by changing those two parameters, and you have a much more stable, controllable pad. I still have a lot of brightness if I need it. My computer's having a hard time playing this because of the unison. So I'm gonna turn unison off. Ooh. So this is a true synth patch where it's no samples, it's true synth waveforms and unison. But let's make the unison maybe not quite so strong, like half the strength. Still kills my computer. Gareth is asking a question. I have a very strange problem with Omnisphere. I'm on El Capitan, Logic Pro X, and Omnisphere 2 lathe. If I'm playing too much notes or too loud, Omnisphere 2 starts to fade 30 dB down. After that, it becomes completely slow, back and fades in and out on one wave. After the occurs, the volume only of Omnisphere 2. This sounds like a question you need to go sending to the Spectrasonics tech team. I don't know what to do or tell you about that. It's not something I have ever heard of before. So please talk to Spectrasonics. Send them a note, say, hey, what's going on? And maybe send them the patch that you're using that's doing that. Maybe if you're doing something where you're using the granular or other effects that are like, if you're using the inner space, those effects will do some things processor-wise, but I've never heard of that. That's a strange one for sure. Yes, granular, unison, and inner space are the three biggest CPU issues inside of Omnisphere. If you call up a patch and it's not playing, go searching around, and you will probably find one of those three or all of them at once being the issue. All right? So let's do one more where we start from scratch, because then I can turn it into a boo patch. Let's make a scary, motiony, let's initialize everything. We'll start like it being nice, and then let's make it really bad, okay? So let's go looking at samples for fun. Let's say motion and see what we get. This could be a challenge. How would we make that a usable pad? Because I definitely hear how to make it scary, right? Let's do this. Let's envelope it to be a slow pad. And then I'm going to use a special type of filter called a bandpass filter. And what a bandpass filter does is it filters the low end and it filters the high end, and you only hear a specific band. And the strength of that depends on how strong this is. So well, I gotta reply to a text really quick. So with the bandpass, see how I've all that low end, all the noise. That's huge. But I want some of that motion, and I want kind of that haunted thing. That'd be a really cool texture element, right? So if I took that and I went to layer B, let's try with a synth waveform for fun. We have to tune it. It's sort of in tune. Now I'm gonna go to B, and there's a couple really cool new effects in the modulation. We're gonna use the Selena to take this and make it a Selena, and we'll make it stereo. That's cool. Maybe we would do this. Let's add more. I always like more polyphony. So let's go over here and make it 24 voices. And maybe to make it even more diffused and more chorusy, let's add ultra chorus on top of it. And then, remember that effect I was telling you about. The precision compressor might be nice here to bring up the overall sustain to make it fuller. I can bring it up here as well. And let's bring it down an octave. And maybe we'll go over to the effect racks to quickly call up some sort of a nice synth delay in chorus. So we'll... So I have this motion, you can't really tell that it's church bells now. Right? Isn't that nice? And I have an EQ in that preset rack, so I can shape it a little bit more. So when I play my track, slow down my rate. It's a good start. Okay, now how would I make this scary? There's so many ways you can make this scary. There's distortion right here, so let's bring this up and let's cycle through the presets. A little bit of that. Maybe turning this down. If I bring up the resonance, it's going to bring up that whole bandpass peak. If I could do something like that. Let's make that shape, so we would zoom out, hit lock. That's lovely. And maybe instead of the saw bite, let's go to the samples. I don't know if you know this, but inside of Omnis here, when Eric was putting all the samples together, everything that is the virus is named blue. Or is it green? I think it's green. So if you say green, no, it's blue, I think. One of those colors. Yeah, these are all virus patches. And there's some very nice strings. Blue fizz. Cool. hear the release of the filter. You hear it going meow. That's because the release is fairly short. So if I zoom out some, I can make this longer, and that will slow down that release. So now it progresses kind of similar to this. So it's kind of fun because it's, let's do this. We want the fade in to be even slower. So this is where you change the curve to the other direction. Here's a case where I want you to not hear so much of that bell sound until later when it's in the filter sweep. This is in, like I was talking, when you're playing and you want to play a pad, you want to have more of this shape. This is a case where I want to be in the opposite, because I want it to be where I hear that synth pad, and then you hear the weird stuff. You wouldn't get that without being able to change the curvature. If it was like this, then you would be just... But because I can go to the curvature, I can change this so that I have the pad sound, and then the effects come in. So that's why curvature is so important to making sounds. Let's bring this down. Now the distortion's not quite right. I want it to be a little bit more like, I'm thinking this is, because I'm rewatching Stranger Things, because it's coming out at the end of the month, and so my daughter and I have been watching it. I want it to not quite be so... Let's turn off this. Let's just listen to our pad for a second. That's nice. I could maybe do something if I wanted to. I could filter it. Let's assign an LFO to this to give us the motion. Just a little bit. And then I also wanted to do this to pitch to a different LFO. So we're trying to make this kind of more like vintage retro. There, that's perfect. Perfect. So let's bring this way down. There. This makes it a little bit more Boards of Canada, to have a little irregularities in the sound. Now let's add back in our church steeple. Cool. So with this type of a sound, it's kind of designed so that you could play a... I can keep playing melody stuff because all that ominous filter falling stuff takes a while to show up. So if I'm playing a little melody, my left hand is a pad that just sustains, it's gonna go into that weird stuff. And then if you listen to the back and you go, oh, it gets a little bit too big and too muddy, right? So that's where you could go to A, which is that effect, and let's use an EQ called the Studio EQ, because it's one of the very few places where you have a high pass filter let's do this. Let's just listen to the noise. Here's without it. So let's clean it up a little bit by having this like go to like 150. Bring up the Q a little bit. Just a little bit. Takes very little. And now I can control how, it's like a bass control for your stereo. So cool. So that way when I'm playing now, I'll get this sweep, I'll get some weird stuff. You can even like now add an EQ and like boost the mid frequencies, because that's where that sweep is happening, right? There. Ooh, we really boosted it. There, that makes it sticks out a little bit. So now we have something spooky. Cool. So let's call this. What should we call this? What name? And I also want to, by the way, go to... I like the 7-band because it's just the right frequencies. And this is only on B. I'm not doing this on common. So I have all sorts of effects going on. There's a global effect. I could do it here, but if I did it here, it's going to shape the whole sound. And I got that church bell sound, kind of like where I went. Oh, a bell possessed is a good name. Cool. Let's see. Let's get this shape to be a little bit sooner in. There we go. Ooh, yeah. I like a bell possessed. That's cool. Either that or I actually had here, let's do this. We'll play off that idea. Pad Midnight Possessed. Because it's got that, like, it's late at night and... Because I started from scratch, I can keep it. Oh wait, oh I gotta. Okay, midnight. So we're gonna save this into the Boo 2017. I'm calling it Boo 2017 for the moment. This will go into the pad and strings folder, and we'll call this. Well, we could call it that because there is that. There's some evolving motion, hybrid strings, soft and warm. They don't have haunted. They need haunted in here. I could go down the list, but that's probably enough. Darkness. There we go. We added darkness to it. It could be useful for ambient, for ballads. I could see dance if it's a certain application, film, for sure. Complexities, I call it simple, and author is, I wish I could say John Limcool plus YouTube, but we'll just keep it at John Limcool. And I'll fill that out in May during the October. Actually, the Rocktober 14th, 2017 live stream. Scary pad with evil nightmare influence and FLUFL influenced bell texture added. Okay. Oh, we haven't done the mod wheel yet. What should we have the mod wheel do? Sure. That's too easy, but let's do it this way. Let's copy this effect preset. Let's turn it off. Let's put it into the auxiliary bus. So we go over here and say paste. And then let's put a delay after it. That way I can modulate this, and that way the delays will keep going. The wheel. Let's have it be more drastic here, and it needs to be, yeah, let's modulate this also with the wheel. So it brings that up to, so it's, you have that residual happening. That's cool. So since I'd saved it already, you can just use the save patch quick to update the patch. Boom. So it's done. So there. Hopefully that showed you guys making some patches, editing existing patches for a certain genre that they weren't aimed necessarily at, making them a little bit more focused to work music-wise. Yeah. Cool. Fun stuff. Midnight Possessed. I'll fix the name. I got Possessed O. Question, is there a way to use the ARP only for one layer? No. That is a much requested feature to add. Maybe they can do that for Omnisphere 3 or something, I don't know. But right now the arpeggiator, when you turn it on, it's playing everything. That's one reason why you have multis. It's really easy to take this patch here and just go over here to stack, turn stack mode on, go to A, turn on the ARP, and go to the shape here and turn on the filter. So it's easy to do that. That's why there's 8 parts. So you can go easy to part 2 and start arpeggiating away. If you want, you could even like do a thing where you say copy this part and then turn off the part that you want to have with an arpeggiator, and then go over here and say paste part. It will paste the whole patch, and then turn off B, and now you can start arpeggiating with A, and off you go. So you can do things like that. We have a question. How does Loom compare to Razor? They are similar in technology. They'd be really easy to do something like, here's Razor. Let's get to where we are on the presets. User. Takes it a minute to like register that I've asked it to look somewhere else for the presets. And then Loom. Let's go over here and say Loom. There was just an update to Loom. So I don't have that update yet. So I can't compare to the new version. Hopefully maybe they've streamlined it to be easier to use, understand. Because the energy in the engine is very similar, I think, to Razer. But this interface is always... It's that similar thing, right? It's lots of waveforms, lots of... It's additive synthesis. I don't know if it's the same number of divisions. But if we go over here to the presets...
And after all, it's just the emotion that matters.
And it's using about 70% of my processor, so it's... The thing with Loom, with the current version, is when you go to the... Where is the page? Edit. It gets a little... Discrete. Second tone. That's not on. How many? I can't see how many, how to expand it to be. But if you compare this to Razer in sound, it's a different sound. Their engines are different. It's definitely like not like one can do the other, but they're both. Well, here that's not fair to. So here it's got a sample in it that's being used to control. So it does some really cool things. But you hear how it's what I hear with my in-ear monitors from 64 Audio is it's frequency capped somehow. If you go to Razer to like even the Evo Razer, these wobbles. I'd take that in my mix any day. The other doesn't quite have the same glue. And I don't know, maybe I can make those sounds in Loom. I haven't tried because I haven't wanted to spend the time yet to understand this interface to that extent. I've worked with it and thought it was a beautiful synth. It's nice, but it's different. It's very different. If that helps. Let's see, what else is happening in our discussion? Wish list for Omnisphere 3. All right, Ivar, see you later. John, did you create some patches multi-layered in Rapid? I have not. I've worked with Rapid, and I've gotten the newest version of Rapid, and I think it's a great synth. I think one of these weekends I'll do or maybe just a guru video I'll do on kind of the multi-channel doing 8 parts in the box, because Dune 2 does that, Omnisphere does that, Rapid does that. Rapid, by the way, for those of you curious what we're talking about, it's made by a company called Parawave. Parawave Audio. And it's great. It's a good synth. Its interface is a little like you're working on a PC, which is interesting. But it can do some crazy The sound quality is great. I mean, hear the fidelity. And it can do complete, like, multi-track. I think, what is this? That's one multi. It's doing this where it can go into, where is it? It's insane. There's an arpeggiator. I don't know this well enough. This is one of those synth plugins I actually want to learn to use and understand, because it has some interesting things going on. The way that it does the sending to sidechain, it's got effects. If you look at the effect list, in the type, they have transgate, they have sidechain, they have all sorts of unique things to So this Dune 2 Omnisphere, there's a Falcon kind of can. And then the other one that people are talking about a lot is the one from VPS, the Avenger. This also is capable of doing these patches where you go to sequences and but can you hear the audio difference? Let's call that up, and let's call up just as far as to if it was my dollars being spent. Let's go to sequence. Go to, where were you, like Trust and Trance. I think it was, which one was I playing? Yeah. Hear that fidelity compared to Avenger. That's better. But you compare that to this just has such like a, like it's in your face, it's very present that I think this might be harder to use and understand because of the interface and the way that it works. But yeah, those are kind of a beast all unto themselves. So Rapid sounds more polished. There's a cleanness that you hear that's pretty interesting. Any other questions? We're about to wrap up for the day. It's been really fun. By the way, if you're into such things, this came out, Shadow of War for Middle Earth, and I am enjoying it greatly. I enjoyed the first one, but this new one, they've done it even better. Question, would you trust your in-ears for mastering? I probably would, to be honest, Mike. What I'm hearing with these just is startling. And if nothing else, I would use them as just a verified reference along with my Genelecs. My Genelecs are in a room right now that I don't have treated. I can't get the sound trem panels and all this stuff. At some point, maybe I'll be able to afford doing that. I can't do that right now. So these are wonderful because I'm in a situation with like a lot of you where the room is not dialed in. You hear it in my voice. This is not a dialed in room. So these are giving me a very true to the sound that my speakers are not necessarily doing right now. So I really do, I do enjoy it very much. Yes, Mach have a new version of Wave Razor. They're getting closer to having the interface come into play so that it's easier to program. We're going to be playing the Boo teaser patches next week. We'll be showing them to you. We'll release them to you. So the plan is this. So I could give you a teaser of some of the Boo patches I have made. Got a ways to go. I wrapped up Razor Chill and been just doing a lot of organizing stuff here, but there is some patches. In fact, one that's kind of fun I can show you that's fun is where's the effects? This white noise flange is interesting because this is an old school trick. We used this back in the Korg voicing to get this type of an effect. If you were to have this be noise in a true sense like this, oh wait, synth noise, let me turn it down because it's loud, and because the noise is truly randomly created inside of Omnisphere, this is one way to know for sure whether someone's pulling the rug out from underneath you, right? Well, this is using white noise flanger. This is using the same white noise, and the trick is to have one of the two layers detuned by 1 cent. And you get the really cool tape flange from back in the old school days. So that's a fun trick. Demon Kitty. Screaming Bombers. Hear the screaming in the background. Falling into despair. So the plan is this. You guys are making your scary patches. Some of you have sent me your scary patches already. The deadline is Tuesday night. By Tuesday night, you need to have your patches, whether it's 1 or 30 or however many you come up with. It's great. I'm putting them all, we're compiling them into a single free library that everybody can download between now and when Boo comes out for free. After that, they will be included with the purchase of my Boo library to have this community library as a bonus library that shows up. And then we're going to have between, I think, the 20th and the 30th, like 10 days for you to write music, to do a demo song using like 5 patches, 4 patches, I think will be what the limit is, from the library we make, plus other plugin guru libraries, plus other plugins, plus whatever you want to do. You can sing, you can scream, whatever. I think I might try to get everybody involved in voting. We might do like a live voting, or they'll be on SoundCloud on a playlist, so you can play through them. And then email in your vote or something. We'll maybe make it. I don't know how to do it. I've never done this before, and I don't know if I can totally manage it, but we're going to try. So the idea is to make the sounds, and then we're going to write music using our sounds. So the prize is not awarded based on the sounds you make. It will be one of those things where I can look at the sounds and go through and critique them, and maybe we can look at maybe next week doing a thing, or in 2 weeks, ways to improve the sounds, just showing ideas of what I would do if they were my sounds for a library type of thing. And you guys, a lot of you like that kind of a thing, so we'll see. Oh my gosh, we've almost gone 2 hours, and there's still 70 of you nuts here. You guys are crazy. What new things are you working on? Can you make pluck-oriented bank with ARPs? I did that. That's Del Norte. Del Norte is your pluck bank, and there's so many ARPs, and it's very easy to change them. The Contact 5 version is even easier to change and so forth. Yes, after the video's up on the web, please click the like button. Right now, if you click the like button, I don't think it really counts. Or maybe it does. I don't know. Brian, I'm glad it was helpful. Get well, man. My gosh, 2 discs replaced in the neck. I cannot even imagine going through that. But yes. Hey, location call out. Where are you at? So I'll send my props from Portland here. It's sunny today. It's really nice. Props from Portland, Oregon. A friend of mine, Johnny Yono, he lives in Los Angeles. He's a techno artist. He worked on one of the libraries with Casey. He did a demo, if you recall, for Razer or for Future X for Spire. He's playing in town tonight, so I'm going to go see him midnight to 2 in the morning. So I have to take a nap first. All right, Holland, Phoenix, Woodstock, Georgia, Woot, London, Heidelberg, Germany, Chicago, Holland, rainy Sweden. Oh, I'm sorry, it's rainy. It was raining here yesterday. In fact, here, I'll give you guys a really special, cool, it's not that special, but if you want to check something out, sample tank. If I go over here, oh, I need to go to an audio track, don't I? So if I go here, I'm not doing my call outs. I'll get to them. I know. Let's see here. Where's more call outs? Chicago. Sherman Oaks. I lived in Sherman Oaks for 18 years before I moved to Portland. Yes. Love Sherman Oaks. Del Norte. The Netherlands, Vermont. I need a break. I don't get a break. So we had rain yesterday, and let's see, kill the drums. I was adjusting. Thunderstorms. Lovely, right above. I mean, you'd see the lightning, and like 2 seconds later, wind would come up. I don't know if I'll use this or anything, but it was still fun to record it. So that was fun. Thunderstorms, gotta love them. Let's see, when does the Del Norte bundle coming? Yeah, very soon. I think probably after the live stream, I'll get it up and running. No time for that contact issue. What's the contact issue? Oh, we were gonna do that. That's right. I'm sorry. We were gonna talk about one more thing. Technical support. Here we go. So, unfortunately, for sometimes this happens when you install these libraries. And I am very sorry that it happens. It's a situation where it's thinking it knows where the files are and it can't find them. And when you do this, the main solution is to hit Search Spotlight. And when you do that, usually it will fix the problem. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you batch resave and it breaks and it looks like this every time. So the solution is actually really kind of, I hope this isn't, yeah, I wanted to cover this. I'm sorry, I almost forgot it. So what you would do is this. You would reinstall it, believe it or not. And check, what I do is this. Let's see, if I was to, let's disrupt a library. If I go over here to my shared folder, and if I quickly put Del Norte over here, it's taking a minute to copy that over. And it's done. And then delete it from there for the moment. And I'm going to undo that in a minute if I remember. So here is Del Norte. Did I put on this? Yeah. So it's here. So now if I go here and I call up contact 5, and I go back to here and I was to call up a patch, And if I click and drag it, it should, oh, no. It likes my computer. It will pop up an error message. The thing is this, so reinstalling it is the easiest thing. You get an error message and you click which of the search or how you need to do the search so that it shows up correctly. And then remember that for when you do the batch resave. Don't batch resave until you know what it takes to fix the graphic problem. And it's easiest just to take the folder and delete it and re-extract it from the zip file so that you're starting from scratch, because the patches need to be in that state where they don't know where they are supposed to go. If you've done a batch resave or something so that it sort of knows but it's still broken, then it's going to always be broken. You know what I mean? So the easiest way I've found is to just to take to the library, delete it, reinstall it, and once you get it to where it works, it just needs to know where the files are, and then it's happy. Until then, you get the weird graphics and you have those problems. So that would be what I would do, is just delete the library, reinstall it, because it's new files. It's back to looking on my hard drive names. So you can go through that process. Do it to just one patch. And when you get that search message up, try different methods to see which method works. And there's an option down in the search list that says keep the current search there. Whatever it says, that means that it stays and it does that same thing for the rest of the patches, and it will fix them all. So that's what I would do. For those of you that were asking about the arpeggiated libraries, I could do a complete just arpeggiated library, and maybe I will, but you really, inside of Del Norte, let's see if this will work. I can do this. So go back to my Finder and undo. Hopefully that puts in the shared folder. Yeah, Del Norte is back. So now if I go here in the ARP, retrigger, there's all these ARPs like this that, oh. See, now it thinks it's broken. So if I go here to Sample Tank, Del Norte, to the base ARP retrigger, it's so easy at this point. Yeah, let's use a different one. That's Noisy Native. Replace, yes. Turn off lo-fi. It's so easy to change the attacks. And just have, you can just mix and match so fast because they're all right here to load. So you can. And there's a whole bunch. There's 10 to start with. So you can choose one of these and. Because the whole idea is to make it so that you can make your own plucky sounds instead of relying on the library of 128 plucky sounds, you know? It's like, I want to make these things where it's this nice template. It's really easy to choose between all these different waveforms, and the filter is right here, and here's your shape. And go to town. So that's the idea. All right, let's see. When does the Del Norte bundle? Yes, I'll do, as soon as I'm done here, I'll put the bundle up. I promise. It will be up shortly. All right, so thank you all for watching and joining along for our fun. Hopefully the programming lesson helped. I think it went really well. I'm really happy with how that turned out. So be well, take care of yourselves. Remember, Tuesday night, you got to get your patches. I'm going to send out on Monday any of my email. If you guys are subscribing, at the top of my webpage, or at the bottom, I guess, is the thing to subscribe to my website's newsletter. And I send out fairly decent number of newsletters letting everybody know what's going on. And Tuesday night is when they need to be in, and there will be a button there to click to send an email. And it's just to one of my two standard websites, or the contact. Well, this contact on the website, you can't send an enclosure. So it'll be through email. I don't want to put it publicly out, although I've said it before. So just support at pluginguru.com. Just send patches there, and we'll put them all together. Taylor, my assistant, is helping me get that all put together. I'll check the mail, Gareth. All right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you later on the next live stream. Bye.